Funding for Off 90 is provided in part by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund and the citizens of Minnesota.
Coming up on this episode of Off 90. Every year, Waseca is invaded by marching bands, and there's music in the air. Learn about an Austin man who overcame some tough obstacles on his road to becoming an artist. And learn about the humble beginnings of a man from the town of Sueur who later became a household name. It's all just ahead, Off 90. Hi, I'm Barbara Keith. Thanks for joining me on this episode of Off 90. The Waseca Marching Classic brings together some of the finest marching bands from around the region, including neighboring states. Marching bands invade the city, filling the air with music. During the event, high school marching bands march down Waseca's main street and then compete at the high school. Learn what it means to perform in Waseca.
I keep saying that this is family entertainment at its best. So coming down here, seeing young high school students perform, see the pride that they show, and then the community itself is so welcoming, I don't think anybody would want to miss it. I'm Mary Williams, and I am a committee member and treasurer of the Waseca Marching Classic. Excited today because we are celebrating our 25th anniversary, and we tried to make it an extra special day because we feel that this is family entertainment at its best. We have 11 high school bands marching at the parade. We have 13 marching on the field. The Marching Classic began 25 years ago in 1988 when Waseca was celebrating its all-school reunion. And they thought, wouldn't it be nice along with the reunion to have a band festival event? So years ago, at that time, we just had bands marching in our parade, and then of course at the field. About 15 years ago, I want to say, we decided, let's make this more of a community event. So we invited others to be in the parade also. Our band is the Waseca Marching Jays, and we really are known for a tradition of excellence in music in Waseca. For our 10th anniversary, because we were also just trying to make that year kind of special, we thought, why don't we have a mascot? So we even had a contest, and we call our mascot Spatman. And the reason we call him Spatman is because Waseca Marching Band is known for wearing spats. Most bands do not wear spats because when they're being judged, if you have spats on, you're drawn to your feet, so people can tell if you're marching actually in step. So many of the bands don't wear spats, but Waseca still does to this day. So we thought our mascot, perfect name, Spatman. We kind of feel that when people attend our event that we can showcase the Waseca community. So we feel that the businesses may benefit, the shops, we say visit our shops, come to Waseca. We're a really friendly community and we enjoy having visitors. So I do feel that the community as a whole does benefit from this event.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
You can't just practice and be at school and doing this. There has to be a reason for practicing, and so this becomes a very fun event. You know, once they march, then they have some free time to camaraderie with their other friends and that. So I think there's a lot that goes into the event itself as far as the benefits of it. So it's just kind of a fun day, and while they're having fun, it's educational, and they probably don't even realize that aspect of it.
100% effort all the way. We have a reputation to uphold.
My name is Lane Powell, and I'm an adjudicator for the Tri-State Judging Association. It's much like a sport. It takes a lot of endurance and stamina, and it's a wonderful way to promote your school and community. So then the competition side of that, it gives something for the students to shoot for, but also the feedback is a critical part. We as judges can evaluate the bands. We have tapes or digital recorders that we give verbal feedback and written feedback to the directors to share with their students on how to improve. And as teachers, we need feedback all the time. That's the thrust in schools these days, is how can we make our teachers better. This is one great way, because in a normal school district, who's the music person that's going to tell the band guy how to do their job better? There are very few people that know the content. So this is one way that they can get out and improve themselves as well.
It's wonderful to see how the kids have learned to use band equipment and march in a parade. I think it's important to have people see this event because it brings out the community and togetherness to watch children perform in a musical competition.
It's a wonderful event that Waseca has put on for many, many years. I've been very impressed with the way they invited the bands. They made it, kind of a unique invitation for each band. For example, when they sent us an email, it said, invitation to the Pipestone Area Band, Class A champions of 1990 or whatever. So that really caught my eye, and I'm like, this is unique. And I've always heard that the people of Waseca have been very grateful for everyone that comes here, and that's what I've definitely felt the few hours we've been here. People have come up and said, thank you for being here. No, thank you for being here. Like, they'll shake my hand. So very warm welcome here. It's different than a music concert because you get the music side, but then you also get the visual side. So there's going to be a visual element that goes along with the music. And then there's also physical demand with marching band. You'll see from shows that kids are marching, sometimes they're even running, sometimes they're rolling on the ground, doing all kinds of things that are physically demanding. So I think there's a lot of demand from students to be in marching band, and I think it's just it's an exciting experience to come to a marching band show. Other districts, I've tried to introduce the marching band thing, and not everyone buys into it. These kids, it's just part of their being, part of their culture. They grew up with it, it's in their blood.
If there's people that are wondering if they want to join marching band and they're thinking, oh, it's a lot of hard work, it's always going to be hot out, people yell at you and stuff like that. The moment that you get out onto the field and it's all dark and you have this light shining down on you and everything, and you're playing and everybody is just cheering and going crazy, it's the best feeling in the world.
As a parent, you have to encourage your child to practice and really devote, a good part of their life to this. My name is Doug Carstensen. I'm from Pipestone, Minnesota. My son is Levi, and he plays trumpet.
3, 4, 5, 6.
These kids, I'm so proud of them. They work so hard. From early in the morning, they practice harder than the football team, anybody. They are out in the hot sun. They won't let them go on the football field and practice. They have to practice on an asphalt parking lot. Imagine that, 100 degrees for 6 hours, 6, 7, 8 hours a day. These kids are tough.
ever since I joined in 8th grade, they supported me all the way through, and right now they're actually band parents. You know, they go with us on all the trips, they help set up things, and you know, without the band parents, this whole thing wouldn't be possible. It's a very fun event. I really like how they set up everything, and they should be proud of what they have.
You can just see it like during the parade. You could just see people getting into the music and really feeling the spirit of the whole event. It's good PR for the town, and Waseca is very beautiful. I fell in love with it already.
I used to be an instructor at the Waseca High School Marching Band, so I came back to watch. I think it's a huge event. It's the #1 event on the calendar of the year in Waseca for most people.
Pinson is an artist and a native of Austin. His road to becoming an artist wasn't an easy one, but now he's a serious and dedicated painter. Eric feels that the active process of making art is what matters most. Learn about the drastic changes in his life and about his commitment to his art.
I'm a self-taught artist. I found that my journey to learn how to paint was a good path, not to have an instructor, not to have a style that I wanted to chase down or learn a technique myself. It was a discovery. My name is Eric Pinson, and I'm an artist from Key West, Florida, originally from Austin, Minnesota. I paint people. People will always be part of my paintings. I try to tap into something that I get from either somebody I meet, somebody I see, and I try to pull out whatever I'm supposed to pull out from that. I'm an oil painter. I love the richness of the medium, and I love the way it lasts. And it's also been something that's been around for a long time. As a kid growing up, I was more geared towards the athletics because that's where love was. And I think children go towards where they feel comfortable, where they feel approval. And so art didn't have a place to grow under that kind of situation. It came in much later. When I put the canvas in front of me and put the paint on the canvas, I found where I was supposed to be. And in 1985, as I was a junior in the Austin High School, and I had my neck crushed in a Friday night football game that was on televised, so it affected a lot of people. And that set me on a different course for the remainder of life at that point. Because of my physical disability, because I cannot hide the fact of my physical condition to people. They ask me about overcoming things. The truth of the matter is that we all have something, and most you can't see, which actually makes it more difficult. Most of the challenges have to do with where I want the art to go, where I hope it goes. The physical reality is just that. It's what's normal to me. And as long as there's people who will witness our work, we'll continue to put it out there, or at least hope they'll keep showing up. There's a line in the movie Frida, and Diego Rivera says, "If you're a painter, you'll paint. You can't live without it." And that's been the case. I didn't know what I was missing until I actually found what painting could mean to me, and to those around me for that matter. If no one ever bought another painting, I know where I'd be tomorrow. I'd still be sitting in front of the easel. That's where I'm home. So there's not even really a choice anymore. If this body decides to quit and I can't do painting in the way that I've done it before, maybe I'll do something else creatively. But the painting itself is the rock, it is the cornerstone. I'm happiest when I'm at the easel.
Before he helped to found the Mayo Clinic, Dr. William Worrell Mayo had a small practice in a little house he built in the town of Sueur. Eventually, he and his family moved to Rochester. Soon, the house passed into the hands of the Cosgrove family, founders of Green Giant. Take a tour of the small residence that a few of Minnesota's most prominent families used to call home.
The importance of keeping the Mayo House as a place to visit is that it really does illustrate the frontier life of the 1850s and how hard people had to work to live out here on the frontier. The Mayos lived here. They moved in 1859 in November. They had been living across the river in Cronin's Precinct, which when Minnesota became a state was renamed Lake Prairie Township. And there was a flood in the spring of 1859, and Louisa Mayo said, "I won't live out here any longer." And so Dr. Mayo purchased these lots of land right here on Main Street. He wanted to be the doctor here in Sueur, and he built this house that summer, and they moved in. They lived here for 5 years until he became examining surgeon for the Civil War, which was what moved him to Rochester. I am Becky Pollock, and I am the site manager of the W.W. Mayo House in Sueur, Minnesota. It's a great place to visit. In particular, people don't recognize Sueur or Dr. Mayo having been here, and so to think about the Mayo Clinic that he's founded and the mansions that his family has built there in Rochester, and then to come here and look at this small frontier home where they had a meager living is a huge difference, and it really illustrates what pioneers of Minnesota could do back then. When you enter the house for a tour, one of the first things we look at is a portrait of the Mayo family taken in 1862. And it shows Louise and her husband, Dr. Mayo, and the 3 children they had at the time of that picture is Gertrude at about 8 1/2, Phoebe at about 5 1/2, and baby William, who was born in the house. From there we move into the family room, and the family would have spent a lot of time in the family room all together. They would have always had a fire in the stove in the wintertime, and they would have done things like read to the children. Louise was self-educated, so she very much believed in educating her children, so she would have spent a lot of time doing that in the family room. From there we move into the kitchen, and there's several neat items in there. Dough box, which you put your bread dough in, you put the cover on it, it keeps the dust and the bugs out while the dough rises. All their bread would have been baked in the wood-burning kitchen stove there, and there's a stovepipe that goes all the way across the room, and that helps heat the room, so that was done by design. There's examples of dishes from that time period. The teacups have no handles. And that's because at that time period, people were packing up and moving west or moving wherever, and the first thing to break off were the handles. So you could purchase them without. One of my favorite items in the kitchen is the mother's rocking chair, because the left arm of the rocking chair is higher than the right arm, and that's so you could rock your baby closest to your heart and rest your arm there while doing so. It also illustrates the size of people at that time period. So Dr. Mayo was 5'4". His nickname was the Little Doctor, and Louisa was 5'2". Dr. Mayo built the house by hand, and so one of the doorways in the kitchen is just a closet, but it is the original size of the doorways throughout the house because he built it to his height, and there was no need to build it taller. Next you move into the parlor, and that's that room that was very prestigious. They would have kept the children out of there. It has a fancier wood stove, fancier wall coverings, the wallpaper, and they would have kept their fancier furnishings and items in there. It has much taller windows on the front of the house than the side of the house, and the parlor really illustrates that. There is one item in there that is the Mayos, and that is a camp chair. It was Louise Mayo's. She grew up in New England, and when she traveled to Michigan at the age of 18, she took that chair with her. She traveled by prairie schooner, which is a covered wagon pulled by oxen. In the evening times, they would circle the wagons, and she would use that chair. From there, we move upstairs into the master bedroom. The master bedroom is furnished with a rope-strung master bed. When you sleep in a rope-strung bed, your ropes start to sag. And so the phrase sleep tight, don't let the bed bugs bite. Sleep tight is referring to tightening your bed ropes. So they want to remind you to do that before you go to bed. There's a wooden tool to use to tighten the bed ropes in there. Also a baby cradle representing baby William, who was born in the house. The master bedroom is above the parlor, so it is the only bedroom with a stove in it, and that's because they wouldn't have often had a fire in the stove, so in the wintertime they really would have needed that extra warmth up there. The next room is the girls' bedroom, and they would have had all three girls sharing that room and one bed until one of their daughters, Sarah Frances, passed away. There's a couple of items of toys from that time period, some different types of dolls, a wax head doll, a china head doll, and also a miniature replica of a cook stove from that time period. And in that time, salesmen would go around using that replica to make sales of cook stoves, and then they would be sent to the family that ordered them. When a new model came out, he would give it away or sell it as a toy. And so it's a really neat little stove. This is the front room right above the entryway, and it's a very small room. And Dr. Mayo would have used this office to prep the herbs that he used in his practice or for studying. He wouldn't have seen patients there, as doctors at this time period always went out to see their patients. If you were ill, you would send a neighbor or a family member to go get the doctor. There's several medical tools on the desk. One of them is a bloodletter, and that was a very common practice at that time period. It's a little square item, and it's got a little lever on it. And you push the little lever, and it makes a little series of cuts to start the blood flowing. Dr. Mayo did not practice bloodletting. It was very common at that time period, and he may have had the tools to do it, but we don't know what in his education or experience stopped him from doing that. Dr. Mayo's first patient was a horse. He was working on this house when a gentleman came up and said, "My horse is ill. Can you help it?" And Dr. Mayo was able to help whatever was wrong with that horse, and that really helped his reputation locally here in Sueur. It gives great perspective of the life of people in the 1850s, what frontier life would have been like in this little house, the chores and things that they would have done. It's fun to watch kids go through and they don't even think about the fact that their kitchen might not have a sink or a dishwasher. So it's important that we have these places for the next generation to see.
That's all for this episode. See you next time. Off 90.
Funding for Off 90 is provided in part by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund and the citizens of Minnesota.